Welcome to the Blue Duck Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome to the Sunday recap. Matt, what are you doing? Stop checking the Emmys, all right? I don't think the show started yet.
Sorry.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sunday recap. We're going to go over all the games today, but first off, we're going to talk about the biggest news of the day. Matt, what do you got for us?
So Giants running back Saquon Barkley left the game with against Tampa Bay with looks like a high ankle sprain. He's scheduled for an MRI tomorrow. Obviously, big blow for any fantasy owners. It's your first round pick, usually likely first overall pick. I guess put your highest waiver priority and or a lot of fab towards Wayne Gallman if you are a Barkley owner.
Yeah, most likely looking at 4 to 6 weeks would be the estimate at this time, but we won't know anything concrete until Tuesday. Check back on Tuesday on BlueDuckFantasy.com for the waiver targets, and he will most likely be on there. Even if Saquon isn't out very long, he's still going to have value. They no longer have Paul Perkins. He got all the carries today after Saquon went out, or at least almost all the carries. Daniel Jones played really well today, so defenses will be keying on that and should open things up for Wayne Gallman to get some running room. Any other news today?
Nothing that was major that we will be covering later on.
All right, well, let's hop right into the game recaps. First up, Miami at Dallas. Going over the Dolphins here, the only thing I have to say about them is Preston Williams could have value come the bye weeks, but he's only an ad at this point. Don't put any waiver wire claims in for him. And Josh Rosen looked not great today, but he looked acceptable, and it's okay as a third quarterback in 2 quarterback leagues.
Yeah, not a ton to say about the Dolphins here. Williams, I guess you're almost relying on garbage time, though.
Every week.
There's just not a lot there. Josh Rosen isn't anything special again. Didn't show today. Cowboys, Zeke was good. Tony Pollard was good.
Tony Pollard, the man I picked for you in our Sunday showdown, who I thought would do absolutely nothing, killed it today. Would have been a great DFS pick as well.
Yeah, it's just something to think about, I guess, when teams play the Dolphins, though. The backups are going to come in because they're going to be up.
Great point.
Cooper was good. Devin Smith didn't have it that great of a day. Even Witten. But I expect Cooper's obviously always going to be good. Witten and Devin Smith are not somebody I'm going to be looking to start week to week. They were more of a matchup play today.
Right. Matchup against the Dolphins, they were good. Tony Pollard right now, to me, is one of the best handcuffs out there. So if you're looking to handcuff Zeke, he's a great one. I'm not big on handcuffing until you get through the buys and you're looking at your playoff schedule. But if you have a deeper roster and you have room for Tony Pollard, by all means, pick him up. Moving on, Cincinnati at Buffalo, the game where I picked Cincinnati to win, you picked Buffalo. You were right, so I'll let you talk about your Bengals and Joe Mixon, your favorite player.
Joe Mixon actually had a pretty decent day fantasy-wise. About 100 yards and a touchdown, like all-purpose yards. That's all you can really expect from your top running back there. Tyler Boyd was okay. John Ross disappeared today, though. That kind of hurt his stock a bit, but we knew that was a possibility. He was kind of a boomer bust guy, and when AJ comes back, that's probably going to be more of the norm.
Yeah, the only other note I have here is Auden Tate had 10 targets. Now, he's a bigger-bodied receiver, more of a red zone or possession receiver. Not somebody I'm looking to add in any type of normal league. Would have to be a very deep league for me to even be considering putting him on my roster. I'm not overly worried about John Ross's down game. I think the talent's still there. And I think that he's going to keep it going forward, but he is going to have down weeks. He is more of a boomer bust play. As for the Bills, Frank Gore will be the man until Singletary comes back. He was pretty good today in fantasy. So if you haven't picked him up yet, you need a running back. Check to make sure the Singletary is going to still be out, and feel free to add him. I'm not buying Dawson Knox unless I'm really desperate at tight end, and I'm not interested in Cole Beasley unless I'm in a 16-team PPR league.
Yeah, not a ton to add there. Frank Gore's a high floor guy as long as Singletary's out. I'm not interested in any of the pass catchers in on that team, and Josh Allen is going to...
John Brown?
Not even John Brown. Like I said, he's like a kind of like a wide receiver 40-ish for me usually. And Josh Allen is going to just remain as that second level in a 2-quarterback / Superflex league.
Question for you, rest of the season, Josh Allen or Daniel Jones? Who do you want starting in a 2-quarterback league as your second quarterback?
I would take Allen over Jones right now.
I'd agree with that, but a couple more games like that from Daniel Jones, and that'll probably switch. Move on. Detroit at Philly. This was a close game. Kerryon got 20 carries, but not many yards. I'm still not worried. I'm actually happy to see that he's getting more reps and more touches. So that was nice to see. Marvin Jones had the big game here, but he shouldn't be seeing your starting lineup. Maybe as a flex in a 3 wide receiver league. And Galladay got his targets. He just didn't convert them today, so I'm not worried about him going forward.
Yeah, the good news was that the volume that Kerryon got, but unfortunately he wasn't able to do a ton with that. It's another bad game for TJ Hawkinson, though. That's a situation that started off really good and 2 duds in a row.
We're going to talk about it later, but Arizona is absolutely terrible against tight ends, and that's who he played in week 1 when he has a big game, so it might have been more of a matchup than anything. Yeah,
it definitely could have been, and it's actually looking that way. He did have a touchdown called back when he stepped out of bounds, but that's about it for him. The Eagles, Wentz was good. I thought he was all right.
Better than I thought he'd be. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, and Miles Sanders had a better day. Jordan Howard vultured the touchdown, but Miles Sanders is the back to own there. And Aguilar, as long as Alshon and D-Jax are out, then he'll have some value there.
Yeah, you're hitting on that right on the head. As long as both D-Jax and Alshon are out, then Nelson Aguilar has value in PPR leagues. In a standard league today, he had 50 yards off of 8 catches, and he did have 2 scores, but the touchdowns are going to be kind of hit and miss. Like, Ertz didn't have any touchdowns today, and you're going to expect him to have more touchdowns than Aguilar going forward. As you mentioned, the committee continues at running back with some bolstering. I'm not excited to own either of these running backs, but if you have either one, they're kind of in the 30 to 40 range going forward where you can start them, but you're not really happy about them.
But the rest of the season, Miles Sanders or Jordan Howard?
Oh, Miles Sanders.
Yeah, okay.
He's probably closer to 30, whereas Jordan Howard is closer to 40. An injury to either one, to me, doesn't even up their value because you're just going to see more Sproles and whoever else they want to throw out there.
Clement, maybe.
Yeah. Moving on to the New York Jets at the Patriots. Bell got a lot of volume today but didn't do much. They get a bye week next week, so hopefully Darnold is back when they come back in week 5. At this point, where do you rank Bell without Darnold at quarterback for like week 5? If Darnold isn't there, where would you say hypothetically you would have Bell?
Without Darnold, we're probably looking between running back 15 to 20. I'm thinking they're just going to load the box and go all out to stop Le'Veon. There's nobody else there that threatens you without Darnold there.
I'd agree with that ranking in PPR, but in standard, I'd lower him even more just because this team isn't going to score. You saw that today. You saw that on Monday. So the opportunities for touchdowns are little to nothing unless the defense gets a turnover and doesn't score on it and they get able to get a short yardage one. But he's going to be looking at 80 yards. So you're going to need those 4, 5, 6 catches to really get his value up there. So I think in a standard league, he's outside the start and is more of like a possible flex in the top 30 range for me. Anyways, anything to add on the Jets?
Not really, no. Just hopefully they'll get their value back when Darnold's back.
Yeah, you can't start any of these wide receivers with this quarterback. He was brutal today. He threw a pass right to the Patriots at one point. There was no jet around it. This is awful.
For the Patriots, they did kind of what we thought they would do. Sony Michel, rough day though. Thought he'd have a better day without James White. But the other guys like Edelman got hurt though. That was another injury I didn't mention earlier. But that's a situation to monitor there. That's gonna up Philip Dorsett's value if Edelman is actually out for a significant amount of time. Gordon, he's going to be fine because Antonio Brown's not there. We were concerned about that, but they obviously cut Antonio Brown, which if you don't know that by now, I don't know where you've been. But Sony Michel is a little concerning today, but I think that's kind of a mirage. I think he'll be okay next week.
Yes, breaking news from a while ago, Antonio Brown is cut. No longer in the NFL. Most likely won't get another shot until after his proceedings for what he's being accused of. Definitely monitor the Edelman injury. It's a chest injury, so it's really hard to know what that is. Like, is it really chest? Is it a rib? Did he pull a pec? Like, if he's out for any significant amount of time or even just a week, Philip Dorsett becomes a must-add, especially if he's out long-term. Josh Gordon is must-start for me going forward. I have him as a top 25 wide receiver every week. And I don't know what's going on with Sonny Michel, but it is getting a bit worrisome for me. I do have him in several leagues. I believe in the talent, but that's 2 out of 3 games where the production just hasn't been there, and Rex Burkhead has outplayed him. And Burkhead also had 6 catches today with James White out. I'm not panicking and going to get Rex Burkhead at this point. Sonny Michel is still going to be in my starting lineup. He keeps scoring, so I'm not at the panic point yet, and I'm not looking to sell yet. Moving on, Atlanta at Indy, good game. It was nice to see some life from Devonta Freeman in this one. Bad game from Calvin Ridley, but that's going to happen for everybody. Hooper has these type of games every year where he has these big games and then kind of just goes away. He didn't have much yardage today. And we have an Ito Smith injury here. Potentially going to give Brian Hill some value or just increase the value of Devonta Freeman, who will probably get a bigger workload going forward.
Yeah, I think the bigger game from Freeman was aided with the exit of Ito Smith as well. But like you said, yeah, I'm not worried about Ridley going forward. He's still going to hover that 20-25 wide receiver for me. Hooper is still around top 10. I'm not buying. I'm not selling it. That's just what you expect from him in general. Decent day for Matt Ryan, of course. Julio got a touchdown. Not a lot to say about this offense.
Yeah, the value stays the same for pretty much everyone. Yeah. Devonta Freeman's value going up is just because it's gone down so far this season, so now he's going back up to where his value was when you drafted him. And he still needs to show a bit more to get back to that value.
Yeah, I mean, if Ito's out, though, I'm really comfortable with him. I was still comfortable with him without Ito. With Ito, but without, he'll move back into that running back 15 range for me. The Colts, Brissett had a nice day. Not buying it, though. That's weaker Falcons defense. T.Y. got hurt. Another injury.
Non-contact
Quad. He got hurt on his touchdown. That's something, obviously, a situation you're going to monitor. But I'm just thinking which wide receiver I would take out of these guys if he's hurt. I mean, what was the guy's name that did well today? Pascal. I don't think he's going to be that good. I mean, Paris Campbell's got talent. Deion Kane has talent, but without some T.Y. dragging away the coverage, I just don't think either of them are going to be startable.
I think the main benefactor of the T.Y. Hilton injury might be Eric Ebron, who might come back closer to the top 10. I'm not putting in a waiver claim, even if T.Y. is out for the season, for Paris Campbell or Deion Kane or first name redacted Pascal, because we don't know his first name. I think it's Zach.
It's Zed. I don't know.
Zed, yeah, I think it's Zach Pascal. But I would not have a problem adding any of those players if I had T.Y. Hilton, and I'm dropping him because he's out for the year. I don't think T.Y. is going to be out for the year. It didn't look as bad as the Barkley injury, but who knows? Keep an eye on that. At this point for me, only Marlon Mack is startable on this team. Oakland in Minnesota. Darren Waller, the garbage time hero that everybody wanted to see. 13 catches today. No change to me for the Oakland offense. Going forward, Jacobs, Waller, and Williams, Tyrell Williams, are the only startable assets. Nothing stood out for me about the Raiders other than they're not that good.
Yeah, no, just a really nice day from Waller for those of us that had him in lineups. But, yeah, Tyrell Williams, the only other wide receiver there worth noting. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, I don't feel comfortable starting him at this point. I thought he might have a breakout game. I put him in one of my leagues. Didn't work out. That's going to hurt Thielen and Diggs, of course. Diggs is a little bit concerning. I'm going to hang on to that for a little while longer before I decide to sell low on him. But and Dalvin Cook looked really good again. Madison looked good again. Madison should be on a roster if Cook's on your roster. Can't hammer that home enough because Cooks will likely get hurt in the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, Cousins was bad again, but he wasn't that bad. His completion percentage wasn't terrible. This game was in hand. It's similar to the Falcons game in Week 1 where they had the game in hand. It didn't really need him, and Dalvin Cook was running all over them. But as you said, Matheson, if you own Cook, needs to be on your roster. I said earlier, not looking to handcuff, but this is a different case. This is a player who's an injury risk who you need to handcuff. You should have done Matheson in the draft if you taken Cook. Madison showed that he's definitely the backup today. Good performance. You're worried about Diggs, so am I. I think Thielen should be fine, especially in PPR. He seems to just be more involved, whereas Diggs had 1 catch last week. I don't think he had more than 3 catches this week. So next week, the Vikings go to Chicago to take on the Bears. And Cousins, is without question, a sit. Diggs might end up being a sit for me, but Thielen will definitely be a start. That's about it for the Vikings. Moving on to the game of the week, Ravens at Kansas City. Matt, your take on the Ravens?
A little bit of a disappointing game from Lamar Jackson from fantasy standpoint, but it's kind of similar to what I was expecting going into the year, closer to that than what he was doing anyway. But again, he's still very much startable in every league that you own him in. Mark Ingram was the touchdown guy today, and Hollywood Brown, I think he only ended up with 2 catches. Is that right?
Not sure, but he did have a lot of targets. He led the team in targets.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of all reflected, I guess, back to Jackson just not having a great passing day. I would keep him around the wide receiver 30-ish range, 35, so more of like a flex play for me for Hollywood. Mark Andrews didn't do anything, but he was 50-50 going into the game, so that could be injury limited.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Hollywood. I'm not worried about Mark Andrews. They're both going to kind of stay in the same spot. We've always known that Hollywood Brown is going to be kind of a boom or bust play. He's got those big plays. The one person I am worried about is Mark Ingram. I know he had a great game fantasy-wise today, but just watching him catch the ball and really turn slowly to start going upfield makes me think he's got a lot of mileage on him. So if you do own Mark Ingram in the league and you do have the roster spot, go ahead and add Gus Edwards, as we had mentioned before. Don't use a waiver claim on him. There's no reason to rush out and grab Gus Edwards. Just add him, just so you have that safety net. He was the number 2 back today. Justice Hill had, I believe, 1 carry to Gus getting a lot of the garbage. Well, not garbage time work, just a lot more work in this game. Kansas City, that Patrick Mahomes is pretty good. And as a result, every single person who catches passes on this team has value and can be started. I don't care if it's the 3rd wide receiver or one of the 2 running backs. You saw McCoy have a good game today. He caught a touchdown. Next week, that could be Darrell Williams or Damian Williams. Monitor the Williams situation to see which one is healthy, because regardless of who's there, it's a 50-50 split with McCoy. So all those guys have value to me.
Yeah, the guy that was obviously disappointing was Darwin Thompson. People had high hopes for that today. Darrell Williams had 1 carry at halftime for -1 yard. He got like 41-yarder towards the end of the game there, which really salvaged his day for anybody that ended up starting him. I kind of have a feeling Damian Williams will be back next week. It was just a knee contusion. It doesn't seem like it's a multi-week thing, but I mean, who knows? I'm not a doctor. Nothing really to say about Kelsey and Mahomes. They're everyone knows what they are.
So move on to Denver at Green Bay. Talk about the Broncos here. Both running backs are actually pretty good in this one. This continues to be an even split, and it's going to be frustrating, and it's not going to be consistent. You're not going to be able to bank on games like this from Phillip Lindsay very often, because next week it could be the other back, whose name I'm forgetting right now.
Royce Freeman,
who goes off. I think today proved that Sutton's the number 1 wide receiver, and that's about all I have for the Broncos, Matt.
Yeah, Green Bay's defense against the run wasn't great today, and Cook had a decent day against them last week too. So maybe that is the weak spot on that defense there. They had a lot of pressure and everything on him, but on Flacco. But yeah, Sutton looked pretty good actually. Had a couple nice catches, but like you said, he confirmed to be the number 1 receiver there. Packers. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a great start to the season fantasy-wise. I mean, he's obviously been good enough for them to win. They're 3-0. But he's played 3 really good defenses, too. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. He's definitely going to get better. The running back situation, it was almost even today, which they had talked about during the week, and we were hoping this wasn't going to be the case. Jamal Williams outrushed Aaron Jones by 40 yards. Jones got the touchdowns. Aaron Jones is the better back in general, but that's a little bit of a concern for me.
Yeah, that's one of the big points here. To me, Aaron Jones is downgraded rest of the season. or at least going forward. If for some reason he starts playing really well and they start to phase out Jamal Williams, he'll get upgraded again. But as of right now, this is going to be a downgrade. He's not going to be anywhere near the top 10 for me. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the unquestionable number 2 wide receiver on this offense and should be on your roster. If he's available in your league, pick him up. And I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers. In fact, I see him as a nice buy low candidate. As tough as it is to trade for quarterbacks, if you can go and get Aaron Rodgers from a frustrated Aaron Rodgers owner and work out a multiplayer trade, I'd be on par for that. Moving on to the late games. Carolina at Arizona. First question for you, Matt. If Cam Newton is out next week, where would you rank Kyle Allen at Houston?
He would be roughly, without really listing everybody, I'm going to say about quarterback 20 to 25. So not startable in single QB leagues for still.
Okay, I'm on board with 20, not 25. I think he played really well today, threw the ball really well. And Christian McCaffrey played well as well. Greg Olsen lit up the Cardinals defense. This is the third tight end in a row to light up the Cardinals defense. If there's a tight end playing the Cardinals, so whoever's playing against Arizona next week should be a start.
DJ Moore had just the one big touchdown there. McCaffrey don't need to talk about. Olsen, yeah, maybe that was a result of the Cardinals defense just being really bad against the tight end position, but he was decent again last week there. So maybe that Olsen's going to be borderline start-ish, like around tight end 15 for me going forward. And Arizona, Kyler Murray didn't have a great day. Larry Fitz continues to be okay there. Kirk had quite a bit of targets. So, again, Kirk and Fitz are you going to be wide receivers out of there. DJ's fine. Kyler is just kind of that boomer bust play. Not somebody you're going to rely on week in, week out.
Yeah, I'm going to be moving Christian Kirk ahead of Larry Fitzgerald for my rest of the season, simply because he seems to be Murray's favorite target. They seem to have rapport even on the sidelines if you watch them. So to me, that's important. He's looking for his buddy out there. David Johnson is just not... He's more what we saw last year than what we saw 2 years prior to that when he had his big season. He's a decent running back, and he's going to be inside the top 20, probably top 15 every week. But I don't see him being anywhere near the top 5. If you drafted him early, you're probably not going to get the right return on the pick, but he's still a decent running back. Definitely not as good as we thought he was. Let's move on to Daniel Jones's Giants and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who lost this game simply because of a 5-yard penalty they took for a delayed game at the end, because that kick would have went through had it been 5 yards closer. Anyways, the Giants, damn Daniel, what a game. He did get sacked a lot, though. I don't know if that's the offensive line or that's him just standing in that pocket and looking to throw it deep, or if it's Shaq Barrett, who's emerging as quite the pass rusher. Ingram was great, and clearly he was watching the podcast where I mentioned he better be great this week, and he was. Great to see Sterling Shepard back, and Darius Slayton is a player to target in best ball leagues for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big story here is Barkley, but we already touched on that. Gallman only had a 2.6 yards per carry, so just be leery of that. He's not going to obviously give you Barkley production. He's going to be like a running back 30-ish probably going forward, obviously for the time that Barkley's out. Daniel Jones is going to have a little bit of a scrambling upside, it looks like here. And, Shepard had a nice day. It was nice to see that for him. Oh, and the Bucks here. Jameis had a decent day. I think Mike Williams had a pretty good day for himself there. A good half, anyway.
I think you mean Mike Evans.
Yeah, sorry. Mike Evans had a great day. If you watched the podcast earlier this week, that was a buy low candidate. I hope you did so because you are not getting this buy low anymore. Obviously, with him having 3 touchdowns, Jameis had a good day. Not such a great day for Chris Godwin. O.J. Howard had a okay day. And the running back situation looked like it was pretty much a split today. So if you have one of those two, that's just a coin flip right now, it looks like.
Yeah, the pass game looked a lot better today. It looked like they were taking a lot more shots downfield and really trying to get the big plays. which was nice to see. Mike Evans had a great first half and then a big catch late in the game. This is why you have to tune into the podcast when it comes out. We tell you to pick up these guys. You talk to the Mike Evans owner. He's frustrated. You offer him someone like, I can't remember the names we mentioned. I know Juju was one of the close ones there, and we said that one would be about the closest deal that you would get. We had some other ones as well, but Mike Evans, we weren't worried. If you had listened, he'd be on your team. You would have got him for less than the person who drafted him, and you'd be sitting pretty. The running back situation, as I mentioned, continues to frustrate, and that's all I got.
Just a quick note on the Evans trading for at a low stock there. We actually had one of our listeners trade Lamar Jackson for him, so that's one successful story.
There we go. Perfect. You got rid of the quarterback that you probably drafted late in the 10th round as possibly your starter or possibly your backup, and you traded him for Mike Evans. So congratulations to that listener. You're probably in a good spot to challenge for that title. Moving on to the Saints at Seahawks. This was a surprise of a game to see that the Saints actually won and were in control of this game throughout. The Saints stars came out. Bridgewater wasn't great, but the big names still got it done. I'm still downgrading them all, though, going forward. So Kamara isn't where he used to be, but he's still probably going to be top 10 every week. Michael Thomas isn't where he used to be, but he's still going to be in the close to top 10 every week.
I'm keeping Kamara pretty close to where I had him. I mean, I had him number one week when Breeze was there, but he's going to be in top 5 for me. And Michael Thomas, I'm going to keep there as well. Bridgewater did what he had to do to get the win. I mean, they were defensively aided. They had a couple of, or at least that one touchdown there, and then they had a special teams touchdown. So obviously that played a role there. Seattle took advantage of garbage time again, and Lockett ended up having quite a big day in that garbage time, and same with Will Dissly, who got a touchdown with 0 seconds left when they had 0% chance of winning that game.
Other note here, Chris Carson's fumbling is going to cost him a lot of work. Penny will likely be back next week, and you could see this being closer to a split. They were running out CJ Procise there today, showing how much faith they had in Chris Carson. So look for this to become a little bit more of a committee until Carson can show that he is the better back, which he is, but he has to get those fumbling issues taken care of. You can't have somebody on the field fumbling the ball. A note, Will Dissly caught that touchdown at the end of the game. Guess who he's playing next week? The Arizona Cardinals. So Will Dissly will be a start next week, will be in the top 10. If he's available on your waiver wire and you have Hunter Henry and you've just been streaming, time to go grab Will Dissly. This is 2 good games in a row. The yardage isn't really big, but he has a favorable matchups. And as you mentioned, in games where Seattle trails, Lockett's going to get a lot of targets, but that's not the game plan for this team. Seattle wants to go out, run, get a lead, hold the lead with their defense. So don't expect this to continue. If somebody's going to give you a good offer for Tyler Lockett, by all means, sell Tyler Lockett. Houston at the Chargers. Matt, your take on the Texans.
The Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson situation is still a little bit frustrating for our owners here. I don't even know if I can trust either one of them to start that much, honestly. Like, Duke Johnson had 2 yards, so and Carlos Hyde had 19. They aren't running the ball enough to be noteworthy. Hopkins, another down day. Don't panic. Maybe even that might be a buy low target if owners are a little bit frustrated with the last 2 games. He's no touchdowns and under 70 yards.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
Would you trade this week's buy low target coming off his huge game for DeAndre Hopkins?
I would.
Of course you would.
Yes, for
sure. So if you can somehow do that, trade Mike Evans for DeAndre Hopkins.
There is no wide receiver I wouldn't trade for D-Hop right now.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And Watson had a decent day there. The tight end Akins comes out of nowhere and steals the show for them, but Watson had a really nice day.
Yeah, Akins is not someone you want to be going to the waiver wire to add. This is someone who's going to have weeks like this once in a while, just because he's a decent, like the Houston Texans tight end has traditionally been someone who doesn't get a lot of yards, but gets like a half dozen touchdowns every year, and they'll have that game where he's just like, oh, a touchdown, maybe we should grab this guy. And they like next week he's 2 for 20 and then 3 for 30. And like, okay, now I have to drop him. So don't go rushing out to get Akins. Marlon Mack ran all over the Chargers in week 1, and the Texans put up, less than 50 yards on almost 20 carries. So very frustrating situation at running back there. Perhaps the man right here could be on his way to Houston in a trade, seeing as the Chargers really don't seem to need him. They've been running the ball well, and the Chargers just played the Texans, so they won't be playing them again. But the Chargers probably won't make it in the playoffs now. I believe they're 0-3, having lost to... Pardon me?
They're actually 1-2.
Oh, who'd they beat? The Colts in week 1? They hold off? Oh, yeah, in overtime.
Yeah.
Okay, but in overtime. So they're 1-2, beat the Colts in overtime, lost to the Lions, and then lost today again. Justin Jackson had a touchdown call back in this one. Not much running in this one, but Justin Jackson continues to out yards per carry Austin Eckler, but Austin Eckler has a big role in the pass game. Matt, are you worried about Mike Williams at this point?
Not terribly worried about him. I'm gonna bump him down a little bit. He's still got he got 7 targets. I'd like to see that number a little bit higher with no Hunter Henry. But
that's the disappointing thing. Without Hunter Henry, you think he's going to get a lot more targets.
Yeah.
You could accept a game like this if Hunter Henry was playing, but there's really no other pass threat other than Eckler on the short ones. He's supposed to be their red zone target, and he's just not getting it done.
Yeah, Keenan Allen had the big 17 targets with 2 touchdowns, almost 200 yards. I mean, that should be the focus on the defense as well as Keenan Allen. I mean, I think Rivers just has to lob it up for Mike Williams a little bit more. The guy's tall, good vertical. That seems to be where he should be doing his damage. But I'm not overly concerned, but I will bump him down a little bit from I think I had him at wide receiver 19 going today.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I'll probably go 25-ish.
Yeah, the last thing we'll just say about the Chargers, which I mentioned while they were talking about Houston, is the man's jersey was hanging in the back here, Melvin Gordon. You have a Pro Bowler sitting at home doing nothing. You've shown your running game is decent without him. Why not move on from him? Why not get something for him, whether it's a player or picks, just so that you can improve your team? Because you got to do something. You're 1-2, and you could easily be 0-3 if Vinatieri had hit those field goals. Moving on, Pittsburgh, San Francisco. Mason Rudolph's first game. Matt, what'd you think of it?
Very much aided by 2 really big plays there. Juju had a 70-something yard touchdown, which was mostly him running. And Deontay Johnson had the big touchdown catch. I thought he'd go a lot more to his tight end there, Vance McDonald, than he really did. Connor seemed to be affected. I mean, I know that he's a little bit banged up, but... teams are going to be focusing in on stopping James Conner if Rudolph can't be a threat to them.
Yeah, this team reminds me a lot of New Orleans right now, whereas you're still going to start the players that you drafted. You're still going to start Juju. You're still going to start Connor, and you're still going to start Vance McDonald. But every single one of them is downgraded. Not much else to say about the Steelers here. Mason Rudolph isn't somebody you're starting even in 2 quarterback leagues. But moving on to San Francisco in this overly annoying running back by committee, which has Mostert and Breda getting most of the work, and then a very ineffective Jeff Wilson Jr., who went, I believe, 8 for 18 today, getting 2 touchdowns as he is the goal line back. Looks like the coach wasn't lying about this one. Also not worried about Kittle. Definitely a buy low candidate. I believe he has 3 games without a touchdown now. So the touchdowns will come. Touchdowns are a little bit fluky. You can't really game plan for them. So if you're looking at somebody who's looking to sell Kittle, by all means buy that. He's a top 3 guy rest of the season easily. And I have Debo here still as the number 1. Dante Pettis' line was 4 for 20 and a touchdown. The touchdown, take that away, and that's 4 for 20, and that's not impressive at all.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult to start one of these backs here. Even if you get the yardage out of Breda or Mostert, they're not getting the touchdown. So I'm going to have a tough time starting any one of these guys. They're all going to be fairly similar in the ranks, probably running back 30 to 40 probably for me next week. All 3 of them might end up in that category. And, yeah, for sure, if you can buy Kittle now and obviously pay a little bit less for him, that's like a Mike Evans situation. He's gonna be better, and he's not even doing that bad. It's just people are expecting more from him.
He just hasn't gotten the touchdowns. He's getting the targets. Mm-hmm. I think he had 8 targets and 6 catches today. So the stat line that's important is there. Just the touchdowns haven't hit yet. And all that means is that he's in for some reverse regression where he's going to get more touchdowns going forward. So he's definitely a buy candidate for me. Looking over the performances today, no new names really stood out. Daniel Jones with the biggest performance of the day. But in most fantasy football leagues, you should be pretty set at quarterback. Unless you lost Breeze and Big Ben in the same week and decided to stream somebody this week. But do you really want Daniel Jones? Maybe. If you're in a deeper league, maybe you stash him. The only thing we were talking about earlier is, would you want Daniel Jones if you didn't really have anybody? And you said, very valid point, you could probably find a better quarterback out there. Like I'd rather have Matt Stafford rest of the season than Daniel Jones. So who would be your number one pickup right now on the waiver wire?
I would look at, because I'm thinking Barkley's going to miss at least a couple of games. Wayne Gallman, just running backs are more they're less. What's the right word I'm looking for here?
There's less of them.
Yeah. That's not one word. But anyway, yeah, that's the point, though. I mean, there's less running backs to pick from there, so that is somebody that I would be targeting most. And for wide receiver wise, I mean, we talked about them last week, but still Debo and DJ Shark would be the top two for me.
And even Mecole Hardman's only on average 51% owned.
Oh wow! Okay.
So Mecole Hardman would be ahead of both those guys for me, who are both under 50% owned. Another name that we'll throw out here is Golden Tate. If you have a spot on your roster, you don't want to wait till the week Golden Tate's coming back, so why not grab him a week early? He won't be back and playing for you next week, but if your lineup is set and you're solid, because the teams on buys next week are the Jets and San Francisco. More than likely, with Debo being on bye, nobody's going to be looking to add him on the waiver wire, so he's going to be somebody that you can add for free. So Golden Tate is somebody, if you have a spot on your roster, go ahead and grab him. Other guys that we mentioned, Alexander Matheson as the handcuff to injury-prone Dalvin Cook. He's not somebody to go out rush on the waivers to grab. He is an ad. And I think we talked about everybody else. Just get your last thoughts here on Jeff Wilson Jr. Would you want him on your team, or are you just avoiding the situation like I am?
Yeah, I mean, if I had him, I wouldn't be starting him anyway. So, I mean, maybe as an ad, as like a depth piece, or maybe just throw him in as like a trade guy. You can kind of maybe sell, hey, look, this guy's getting a touchdown or two a game. So there's automatic 6-12 points. So somebody might buy that from you.
Yeah, and on bye next week as well. So no rush to grab him as well. Last person I'll mention here, he is over 50% owned. He's at 55%. And that is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. If you had to choose between Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Mecole Hardman rest of the season, who would you prefer? Or at least, let's not say rest of the season, because once Tyreek Hill comes back, Hardman's value is going to go down. You need a wide receiver. Who would you like to have for the next 3-4 weeks?
That's a good question. I mean, really, I was going to fall back to that Tyreek Hill thing, so you caught me there.
Yeah. No easy outs here, man.
Yeah. I think for the foreseeable future, until Tyreek is back, I would be more inclined to go with Mecole Hardman.
I would agree. MVS is somebody who's perhaps going to hit your flex during the buys. Green Bay hasn't looked great, but they could also turn it around and really start firing, and then MVS's value is going to skyrocket back to where it was kind of last year near the end of the season when he got going. That's about it for early waivers, Matt. You want to add something?
No, I was just going to say, like, the Chiefs' offense has just been a lot better. That's why I'm going more Mecole Hardman versus MVS. That's my main logic behind that.
And in case you weren't watching the live show this morning, we talked about DJ Chark.
You want the song, don't you?
Yeah, I want the song.
DJ Shark do 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 DJ Shark do 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 DJ Shark do 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 do.
That's enough. 3 touchdowns in 3 games. Only 1 game over 100 yards. People are looking at him like he's great. If you can get good return on him, he's a good sell candidate for me at this point, because he's not going to get more than 5 more touchdowns over 13 games, and the yardage really isn't going to be consistent enough for him to be in your starting lineup week in and week out. So if you can put him in a package or trade him for a wide receiver, by all means, move on from DJ Chark. Last words?
Thanks for watching.
That's it.